In this lecture, Professor A.K. Animal Hack explains the meaning of consumer surplus for students of cost-benefit analysis.
So we looked into the demand function and we realized that the consumer surplus, we are trying to interpret consumer surplus because every time you repeat it, there are some new question, new way of looking at it. So this is quantity of demand. That's what we look into it. And we said, if I consume this much quantity at this price, doesn't matter how the price is fixed, this is the price, this is the quantity, then this is how much I pay mathematically, and this is my maximum willingness to pay, and this area, consumer surplus, is my maximum willingness to pay minus actual payment. So mathematically, this is what the definition, which everyone has seen. So realize the difference. The surplus is this. This is the actual willingness to pay. I was ready to pay this, and this is what I have paid. So let me give you an explanation for us to understand. I went to visit, imagine you went to visit, and this is a real life story. So I was visiting a poor family, and my objective was to look into a solar panel. So in other words, they have purchased solar panels. So I went to their house. Obviously, I realized that they have a solar panel in the rooftop. This house has one door and one window. So really, I want to visit this fellow. I wanted to see him. So I asked him, the owner of the house, he can explain the story because the story is what will be important. Because this is something he bought. So I asked him a very simple question. Why did you purchase solar panel? Why do you think I asked this question? And the reason is very simple, and this is the real reason. I went inside the house, I walked inside, and I realized that the room is like a very small room. I still remember the inside the room, and there is a bed here. It's a bamboo bed. Means this is not even the way you look. It's basically basher bed. Bash diye banano ekta bed. And there is nothing there. It's a very poor family. The lady was living there, and her father was living in another house in front, which is almost like 4 feet by 7 feet. Very small, tiny place. And father was living here. She paid for this solar panel, but the house, the daughter and her children, two children were living, is this one. And the solar panel only gives light to this house, not to his house. So he remains in the darkness. So she has no solar. The lady who was living here, she has solar light. And the person who paid is not here, person living here. So I asked him, why did you buy it? What do you think his answer would be? Why did he buy something that he is not using for the benefit, benefit
of his family?
So what does it mean? What is inside the benefit? What does it mean, benefit? What are the benefits?
They can have light so that they can undergo their education and improve their lifestyle in the future. Sort of an investment for their bright future.
So lights for education. Good. Anything else?
It could be like in the dark, anything might happen. Sorry, if we look at the current scenario in our society, it's more like the rape is inevitable. So if there is light, at least people will get to know. Looking at the shadows of something is not going well, so they might intervene. So that could be a possible reason, sir.
I think that thief cannot enter into the house because when thief wanted to enter into the house, that he can see the light. So that can be the reason.
Aisha thought that security may not be the reason.
Sorry, it could be the reverse way as well. If there's like kerosene poopy, it might fall off because, as you say, the daughter has kids. What if the kid somehow accidentally pushes it and then torches the whole house? It might happen, sir.
That could be fire hazard. But fire hazard is definitely one. Any other reason for the father to buy this? This is one house. This is third house. This is this house. And father's house is, if you want to see the father's house is look like this. Almost one tin shed like this. And he has only a bed, that's it. Very small. So this is the father lives, this is the daughter lives. She is living with her, she is divorced. She is living with her 2 children. And what I found out that the father actually, there's not enough place for even father to live. This is a very small house. So I went to this, no, I saw this rooftop. So I saw this solar and I said, let me go and ask this question to this family. Why did they buy it? Because I thought it's a stupid decision. But when I asked the father, he said, no, it was not a stupid decision. I bought it for a purpose. And I asked him, what are the reasons you paid for this solar light? Not to your house, but to your daughter's house. And I'm asking you to think about it. So remember, the reason I'm thinking about it, he has a demand for solar light. So there's a demand for solar light. And I'm trying to understand why people demand solar light. So that's the reason I was interested in. Because we always study things without reality check. So that's what I said, let me go and ask this fellow. And why did you really buy it? And he did not answer this, honestly speaking. He did not say that it was for the education of the granddaughters, grandsons. He did not say actually this either. So I'm trying to find out how different you are from reality. Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand. So the 2 reasons he have given was not his reason.
Sir, it can be his income is so low. That's why, sir.
Sir, could it be something like that? The widowed wife like does some jobs such as like she weaves at the night, and due to the light she can weave it more accurately, and which can generate income for the family. I don't know. Like I don't.
So you are giving reasons for purchasing of a product. That's what I'm giving. I'm looking at. I'm not writing. So these are. So you could say because of income generation. I will give another story, and that is for income. But this lady has nothing to do with income generation. I want you become a real economist, not an imaginary economist. These are all imaginary economics, right?
Social status or acceptance. It can be a future investment for that old parents, sir. Like if his girl or his grandchildren start generating income throughout that, it may aid them in later age.
Yeah. So this is these are honestly speaking, these are not bad reasons you are saying. So somebody says income generation. Honestly speaking, it was not his reason. Somebody says social status. It was not his reason. So he did not buy it because of any of this.
Sir, maybe the house is in a very remote place where normal electricity line does not reach, and hence there was no other option than to install a solar power.
No, but that's true. But his room is without solar. Yes.
It can be just simply that like he derives utility from seeing his daughter or grandchildren like enjoying the facilities. Like for the life, they can enjoy the basic facilities, and as the reasons I mentioned, those could be few of the reasons.
Better standard of life.
Yes.
Anybody else? Okay, so let me write down this one. This one, what was the reason you are saying that it's a cheap price due to subsidy, right?
Yes, sir.
Let me write it down. Honestly speaking, that is not true. There was no subsidy.
What I think is he's living alone, and what you say that there is one bed in his house. So basically, I think that utility is more if he gives to that house, because there are 3 or 4 people living there. And what I can figure out is he eats or he has his meal from his daughter cooks and does all the household stuff. So I guess he goes to that house for his daily meal and all. So I don't think he needs electricity as much as his daughter needs, and there are also more people in that house. So utility is more if he gives the solar panel or establishes it in that house.
So more satisfied to help the daughter.
Sir, what if he had given it as dowry before?
So this is her house.
Sir, can it be for restoration of energy?
What does it mean?
Sir, like if he purchases a solar panel, then he can store energy, sir, for night.
Let me also give you an example so that you understand. So if I use kerosene light for lighting, my monthly cost would be 180 taka. If I use solar for lighting, in this case, my monthly cost is 900 taka. And the cost of the panel is 20,000 taka. And in his own house, there's nothing that they bought which is above, probably not above 2,000 taka. Anybody else want to try?
Sir, it's about the perceived value of the product. So, so for the father, তার কাছে solar panel value is more. So, as a result, he wants to give the better product to the daughter.
So think about this way.
Maybe he just wants to enable his daughter to do something with this because let's say if she wants to run a small business out of her home, she will need uninterrupted electricity, which will probably be expensive. So maybe he doesn't have a specific purpose in mind yet, but he knows that this is a resource that will be good for her. So that's why he just invested in it.
I'm not disagreeing with it. So that is what income generation, right? Technically, that is income generation. But
Right.
he actually said this, and the reason is that he is paying for her services. The very simple reason: this girl looks after me. I cannot do much because I'm very old. But this is this girl who is taking care of me. So I thought that I should do something for my daughter. So, and he is happy to help her daughter. Technically, he's also trying to repay that, okay, it is this girl who is taking care of me. So it has two reasons. None of the other reasons one was in his mind. So I'm giving you the logic to think about it. When somebody purchases a product, there may be hundreds of reasons. There may be hundreds of reasons. And if you purchase a product for many reasons, how does it show up in my demand function? That is the fundamental logic that you should. And I've seen many people talking about it, and I've seen people never understood it. So when I draw a demand function, when I say this is the demand function, what is inside the demand function? Remember, demand function, is obviously, remember, I'm paying for it. It's a willingness to pay function. Technically, it is a willingness to pay. What is willingness to pay? That means I am paying because I feel like paying for it. So there must be reason why you are willing. So what are the reasons for which you pay? And what is my payment? This is what is my payment. At this price, to go back to economics, at this price, I would purchase up to here. This is my quantity. That's how we study in economics. We say at this price, this is my quantity. Not this one, not this one. So neither here nor here. Why not? Not Q2, not Q3. Why not Q2? Why not Q3? Because this is not my equilibrium. My equilibrium is here. This is where I maximize. So remember, I maximize my utility. We have seen this in economics. So I maximize my utility at this point. If I maximize my utility at this point, that means if I'm here, think about this as a logic. This is my utility. And technically speaking, it is like this. So this is my utility function. And we're saying that given my constraint, this is my highest utility point. Remember, the demand function has also a constraint. What is the constraint? Budget is a constraint. Given the current constraint, this is the highest utility, maximum utility. So I'm looking at maximum utility. I maximize this utility at this point, and which means if I'm here, that basically means my utility is here. If I'm here, that basically means my utility is here. So this is U1, this is U2, this is U3. So my maximum utility, if I have a choice of buying different amount, my maximum utility is between U1, U2 and U3 is U2. And in order to achieve U2, I need Q2. Let's say this is Q1. So I need Q2. This is Q1. This is Q2. This is Q3. So I need Q2. So I said, okay, I want up to Q2 amount, which is right here. Because at this price, given my budget, this is my maximum satisfaction. But this utility for which I'm paying for it. So what creates my utility? That's the basic question is, if somebody is paying, what creates his or her utility? So utility is satisfaction. So why are you satisfied? Because why are you buying it? You have to, when you say, I want to, I have a satisfaction of purchase, you are purchasing satisfaction. So it could be because I feel this in this case, and that was the reason I was explaining, that when we asked it, just basic economics, that's why when you say, where is economics? Economics is in everyday life. Economics is not outside. The problem is, you have to think through. So these reasons that you have mentioned, I'm not disagreeing with it. These are all good reasons. These are all possible reasons. So in other words, what I'm saying right now, if you think about it, from the discussion, that I could purchase a product because it gives me additional income. So income generation may be a reason for purchasing it. I'm purchasing it because of comfort. Nobody's talked about it. In fact, he talked about comfort. He said it gives comfort to my daughter. So for him, it was the comfort. So it was only the comfort of the daughter. She's doing so much for me. So I need to give her a comfort. And if I buy solar home, she is comfortable because she knows that all I have to do is switch it on. Switching on a light versus cleaning a lamp in hurricane is quite a lot of work. Okay. So for him, it was a comfort for which pay. But obviously, there may be another one who is paying for income generation as well as for comfort. For some, it is entertainment, that I have a television and I pay because I would be watching television. For some, it could be education. So I'm not saying you are incorrect. These are all true. For some, it is an education. For some, it is a comfort. For some, it is a status, societal status. So there are many reasons for which I buy. Looking at all these reasons, I find this is the best point. So when I find a point on my demand function, somebody should really recognize this particular point. When I find this point, I'm saying, look, this is where, so I will purchase because I find this is my best point. This is the maximum satisfaction point. But behind the scene is an utility function. That is why when we derive a demand function, which is how does the demand function comes? It comes from maximization of utility subject to my budget constraint and the prices. So this is how I satisfy it. So I said, okay, this is how I decide. But when I decide on this utility has a lot of things. I consume X, but it is not consumption of X that is actually helping. It is through the consumption I get all of this. There could be many things. So what we explain, you have given a lot of reasons, and I'm not saying those are bad reasons. But my first point that you should start thinking that if your father buys something for you, probably it's only because he feels very happy to give it to you. Always recognize this beauty of giving and recognize why parents spend so much of energy and their resources on you, because they feel that, look, this is how I feel happy. Because so in his or her parent's utility function, your happiness is included. He look at, you smile and he feels very happy. So remember, parents give it because they have. So my point is, do you agree now? There's this demand function reflects all of this. So this demand function has income generation in mind. That's why some people, so this is what happens. I'm giving you now the second logic. If somebody has only comfort, he will buy one light. If somebody has more than things, he might be actually buying more. Possible? So in other words, you see how demand function is shifting, because I look into the value of social status and I realize that because of the social status, light is my social status. So how do people know that I have a light in my house? So I put a light outside. I may be putting a light for security reasons. So yes, I pay for the light because if it is lighted, people don't want to come near my border, near my house, because I can see him. Okay, so stealing, remember anti-stealing. So there are quite a lot of issues linked to purchase behavior. Similarly, if somebody was thinking of security, he may be purchasing more lights. So that's what happens. If you look into the demand for electricity, for a poor person, he was only looking for 40 watt electricity power. And you and I are looking for, on average, 2000 watt electricity power. Why? Because my laptop itself is taking 70 watt. So see, let's see, my laptop is taking 70 watt. The light in my house, in my room, in everybody's room, probably taking another 500 watt. The fan, every fan is taking about 70 to 80 watt. So see, the standard of living goes up, and that's what I'm saying. Same price, but the more reasons enter into your house, the demand curve shifts. Am I right or wrong?
Right, sir.
So can I now say that this demand curve actually is taking care of all of them? Possible to say this?
Yes, sir.
So now you realize that when we draw a demand function, it's quite a lot of story behind the demand function. So if I draw a demand function and we said, okay, this is the demand function of the poor person, this is the demand function of a middle income person, this is the demand function of a richer person, and if the prices are same, each person has different level of consumer surplus. That's why it's different houses. So if I have air conditioning, you have more demand for electricity, same price. You can actually theoretically discriminate and say, no, no, no. So think about this as a diagram, sorry. So let me show this as a diagram so that you understand how it works. So this is the demand function for a poor person. This is the demand function for a middle income person. And think about just these two for a moment. This is the price, this is the quantity. So if I charge a lower price for the poor person, we say this is his consumer surplus. So this is the consumer surplus of the poor person. But if I have a different price for the rich, I have a different consumer surplus. So this is for this. So let's say, remember, the price is different. So the consumer surplus is also different. So it is possible that this is the consumer surplus of the middle income person, right? And I'm not saying that the prices are not necessarily same. Prices could be different. But if the price is same, consumer surplus would have been bigger. All I'm saying that every demand function reflects quite a lot of story. Why I pay for it. That's important. Because why we pay for it, why we pay for a product, right? So when you pay for the burger of your friend, ice cream for your friend.
Because we like them.
Because he's my friend. So we settle debts.
We feel happier, that's all. But in any case, our target is to understand that, look, even if you pay differently, even the richer pay higher price, the consumer surplus may be bigger because of the shift in demand function. And my particular point is that in my demand function, in a demand function, in any demand function, you include the benefits for which you are willing to pay. So that brings an issue that if that is how much we pay, if this is consumer surplus, what is consumer surplus then? So if somebody says, what is consumer surplus? So what is actually consumer surplus? Not a mathematical definition, but the meaning of it. It's a concept. This is what I paid, and this is what I received. Remember, this was my willingness to pay. So this is what I received, which means anytime I buy something, I receive more, right?
Right.
I receive more than I what paid, and that difference is my surplus. So see, the consumer surplus has an interesting, very interesting meaning. And the reason I receive more, because it has many things. You thought money, it's not money, it's the satisfaction of my, it is the comfort of my daughter, it is the income that I generate, this is the education of my grandchildren, it is the social status. All these I receive because I purchase electricity. So I have a value of all of them, and that is called my maximum willingness to pay. So what does maximum willingness to pay say? That look, when I purchase things, I purchase for all of this. I purchase for the comfort of my daughter. I may have purchased in another case for income that my daughter or my son will make. I may have purchased because of the education of my children. I may have purchased because of social status. I may have purchased because of my satisfaction to watch entertainment. I may have purchased because I believe that if I have electricity light, if I have less air pollution, which is better health. Depend on what is in your mind. So everyone thinks differently, they purchase differently. So the moment you realize that, okay, why am I paying for it? That's why you find out it depends on your mind. And that's why marketing group always helps you to say, this is the product you need. And say, oh yes, I need this. Otherwise, why people would purchase something? So you purchase not because, remember all of that I received by payment, this is when I paid for this, I received everything, okay? But they did explain with this function. Unfortunately, we never understood this function properly. So this is the function they said, look, whatever is inside your mind, may have paid for the security of my family. I may have paid for anything that you are thinking of, better health, anything. So because I paid for it, I have a reason for it. So when I paid for it, I bought everything. So this particular demand function incorporates my willingness to pay for all the things it is in my mind. Now, obviously, different people have different things in mind. So that's why they buy different amount. But whoever has bought it, it is whatever in their mind they buy. That is what my objective. So if I'm saying that society is willingness to pay for a product, for a bridge, for a public good, remember public good. And if I have a demand function for the public good, then, and if this is the price, remember the cost. Okay, so what we're saying that if this is this demand for the society, what is this then? What does it include? All the benefits this society receive from the project. So now you say, oh, I want to do a cost benefit analysis. How would you do a cost benefit analysis? So if somebody says, do the cost benefit analysis, what will be your strategy of doing it?
So we'll have to understand the total benefit derived and subtract the cost and see what the surplus is looking like, if there is any surplus at all.
Okay, good. So now you realize that I'm basically summarizing a lot of things in between, but unfortunately, many of the textbooks never write this. I think it's a good thing they do not write. Otherwise, my value would be 0, right? So when I'm looking into this and I'm saying, look, I want to make Padma bridge and this is the cost of Padma bridge. So how will you find out, do the cost benefit analysis? What do I need?
The demand function.
Now realize that we actually need a demand function. And without the demand function, you will never be able to, because that's what you get. You always get this. They will say this is the cost of the project. So question that really matters for us is to find out, how do I define a demand function? Can you find a demand function for Padma bridge? How would you find a demand function for Padma bridge? So now it comes back. So now conceptually it is clear. What is conceptually clear? That if I want to find the benefits of the project, all I need is this area. Unfortunately, the area that we get is this area. Engineers, everyone will come up with this area. They say this is the cost of the project, $2.2 billion. They give this. But if I say, shall we spend $2.2 billion? Then the question is, we need to know that if I want to say what is the benefit minus cost, that is the number we want to see, because we want to see whether benefit minus cost is positive or not. That is what we're looking for. Is that clear to everyone? So we're technically looking for a concept which is called consumer surplus.
Please subscribe to this channel to receive updates on new videos.